Welcome one and all to Umami Manga. I'm Petter and this is James.
Hey, how's it going?
And today we're talking about Volume 6 of A Bride's Story. Nearly a year has passed now since the start of the story. And in this volume, after involving the whole Ahan family and their disagreement on embroidery, where Amir wanted Karluk to wear embroidery and he did not want to wear it because it seemed childish to him, Amir and Karluk managed to eventually settle it themselves. The Halgal and Badan clans joined forces to attack the Ahan family's village, but Azel and his cousins didn't really like that. Joruk warned Amir of the coming attack on the village, but not long after that the actual assault began. The townsfolk struggled, but then the Badan clan started attacking the Halgal, and Azel decided to
Traitors!
strike back at the Badan. Which luckily did take some of the pressure off of the townspeople. And all of our good characters fought valiantly in this battle, and in the end, Azel specifically had done a lot of good for the town. And the Badan clan is no longer really around, and Amir's father dies by the end of the book. So this was an eventful book, I feel like.
Oh yeah. I mean, I think we were expecting this kind of a book to happen, but personally, I didn't think it would be the next volume. I kind of felt silly because I felt like, yeah, it'll be a pretty chill one, you know. Like, we'll maybe get some audio stuff, and then the next one will be a battle or some kind. It'll be the big battle. Totally wrong, and not just that, but there's a bunch of other things I just botched. Like, you know, who the Halgal and Badan were teaming up to fight.
Oh yeah.
That one I just totally spaced, even though it should have been obvious.
Well, I mean, I don't think I had really anticipated this exact either. Like,
of course they would want revenge.
It makes a lot of sense
now in hindsight.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then the other thing I totally goofed up on, and I'm sure we'll talk about, is their father. I thought the father was dead. They made it seem like he was dead, but I looked back, they never said it.
Right.
Obviously.
Yeah.
They just kept saying the elders. And
right.
I guess that got in my mind, and so I assumed, oh, the chief must be dead, and so the elders are taking over and guiding the family. But no, the elders meant the elder and the head chiefs, the head chief, like to the father. So that's take the L on that one.
Right, but I think what was a bit confusing there was that we knew that there had been a different head of the Halgal clan before, but ever since that person was no longer the head, the new head had been doing bad things. Like as the new head of the clan, and that new head is the father, as we know now. But we thought that maybe the father was the previous head who had been doing well, but it was kind of the other way around.
Dang.
But that all is clear now, anyway.
What if that was their grandfather?
Maybe.
And because as one of the cousins mentions, sorry, I'm really going into all sorts of discussions already, but
all good.
As one of the cousins mentions, the right to be the head chief goes down. It passes on to the son.
Precisely.
So it would make sense if the grandfather passed away and then they passed on to their father. And maybe the grandfather was a very kind person.
One could hope.
Yeah. Anywho, so yeah, very fun volume. A lot of action. So if anybody tells you Bride Story, that seems like a lame, boring kind of story. I mean, I would never say it was lame and boring to begin with, but
no,
she throws in a lot of action, all shoved into this book, and it's awesome.
Yeah, it's good action too. It's like it's very well paneled, and I don't know. I felt like I was really like invested in it.
Yeah.
Very well. Then I'd like to start by talking about Azel this time. So he took good care of the horses, getting wet for the little ones, and
I tell you, there's more than horses that were just wet. uh, I'm sorry. Take that
He,
out.
no.
I didn't say that. I didn't say that.
He, I mean, I think he is great eye candy. I think for certain
Yes.
readers,
Yes.
as his sister is for other readers. Like,
Absolutely. As Morty has let us know multiple times.
oh yes, oh yes. We just need to see Azel in full nude.
That'd be complete.
It's only fair.
It's we're halfway there.
We are.
But yeah, no, it was interesting to see the process and the mindset of taking care of horses as livestock.
Oh yeah.
My Western mind is just thinks cowboys or cattle ranchers who would, I guess, maybe have a horse herd, but it's not very common. It used to be cattle as in cows. So,
Right.
So yeah, this very interesting point of view in how finicky horses are. Anyway, it's really interesting to see that, and how the pride is not so much in how many horses you have per se, or what you do with those horses. It's so much that you have them because you're a man, and and it's more of a pride thing than anything.
Yeah, that is interesting, and it's also established how kind of buying feed grass for the horses in times of need is shameful, kind of, or at least a lot of people view it that way. But Azel is not above that. Like he seems to be cool with resorting to that,
Yeah.
which honestly I think is wise. Like, why would that be such a bad thing?
Yeah, I mean, he's a rational person.
Mm-hmm.
He may seem maybe a little unhinged, like towards the beginning of the story potentially, but
Right.
I think he's always had a good head on his shoulders, and is willing to do what's best, actually do what's best for his people, even if it means buying feed for the horses.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah, and like as they were riding into to meet with the Badan, Azel shared his concerns with his father, all of which, like all of those concerns, turned out to be very accurate. But obviously, he was not respected there, or his father did not want to listen to that.
Yeah.
But I think he's a very perceptive guy in that way.
I agree. I mean, he as soon as the cannon started firing at them, he's like, "I called it, told you."
Yeah.
But he didn't go too much. At all. He just went right into action, and I mean, he basically took down the entire Badan clan,
basically,
more or less.
Yeah, with a little help from his cousins.
Yep. Yeah.
Who also, but I think they also really shined in this volume. Azel especially. I think, to me, Azel was the MVP of this volume.
Absolutely.
It was really good to get to know him better here.
Yeah.
And I like how they sort of, he and his cousins sort of started to become a bit of a third party in a way. As they did kind of break free from, or well, not officially, but they weren't on the side of the Badan nor the Halgal. Like as those two were united, Azel and his cousins didn't really side with them, even before the betrayal straight up did happen, as they were trying to get Amir to leave instead of going with her father and whatnot, and it just was made very clear that Azel won't take orders from those old fools anymore.
Yeah. I'm curious if any or if most of those old fools are still around.
Right. I believe some probably are, because they did make an effort to try to save as many of those elders as possible.
Yeah. Needless to say, it'll be interesting to see if the Halgal clan is still able to continue after this. I think, as you mentioned earlier, the Badan clan is more or less gone. they're.
Hmm.
I mean, I think it's safe to say that they're gone, and I have a bit of prediction on that, so I'll give later. But I think Hogall will be an interesting clan to follow in the future, with Azel kind of being the center of it, maybe.
Exactly. It's interesting because, yeah, right. Since his dad did die, he should be next in line to be the new chief.
Yeah,
But I
and I wouldn't be
wonder,
surprised if there's some pushback.
right, like either pushback from the clan itself, since obviously he
Mm-hmm.
did kind of go against them in a way,
Mm-hmm.
or just maybe that he maybe he just doesn't wanna
Oh,
because he was just fed up with them. Maybe I don't know.
maybe,
Though
maybe.
if he did get to be their chief, then he could change it for the better. So yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. Well, whatever happens there, I'm sure it will be interesting.
agreed.
Something that I started thinking about during the battle was that I think that Azel has been having a pretty bad self image,
Hmm.
or at the very least, I think he's thought very low of himself as a person. Like he wants to do good, and he does do good,
Mm-hmm.
and he is resisting his chiefs who are far worse men than he.
Yeah.
So like all that is good. We all see these good actions from him very clearly in this volume, but he still didn't think he was worthy of Amir's care and of Amir's worry when when he decided to stay behind to protect them.
Hmm.
And like he was almost getting defensive or like mad. He said that he was Amir's enemy, but his actions obviously said the complete opposite. But I think like the fact that he expresses himself in such ways could be seen as a bad self-image or not thinking that he's worthy of the good things in life maybe or of being thought of as a good person. But I because of me having interpreted him in that way during that moment, I was so happy that his good deeds were recognized by the townsfolk, like the townspeople
Yeah.
in the end, because that could, in that case, maybe help him to view himself in a better way as well.
Sometimes you just have to change your perspective. Look it from a higher point of view. Uh, this seems like some sort of guidance counselor would say. But yeah, the
Yeah,
women had a better view of the situation, and they were able to at least at that part of the town, and they were able to see
yeah,
that he did help them and helped a lot of people.
yeah. He helped so many people. So yeah, I'm very hopeful for some kind of like inner development for him
Yeah,
to kind of come because of thanks to this whole event.
I would of course be totally open to that sort of character growth um, to happen. Absolutely. I have
Hmm.
no idea if it is even the case or not.
Right.
But I would like to see that for sure.
Hmm. Anything else on Azel?
No, I think that's pretty much it.
All right, then let's move on to Amir. She continues to worry about Karluk's health, and
Yeah,
to the point where she starts to recognize her strong feelings for him as love.
yeah.
She even like points that out herself. So I think that's fun. That's exciting.
Not only that, she says she's never felt this way before,
That too, right?
and it gets me thinking because up to this point, I thought her anxiety came from something in her past
Mm-hmm.
that she experienced. But now she's saying, I've never felt this way before. This is all new to me. Is it love? It makes me think, okay, maybe instead of being past trauma, this is just a new feeling that she's trying to cope with,
Right.
which is not a bad thing. Obviously that can totally happen.
Yeah.
Uh, I guess I guess I'd always thought it would lead to something that happened in her past. That's still an option, of course, but the idea that this is totally new didn't even come across until now. So I
Right.
kind of like that new turn.
Precisely. Yeah, 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 that is a good option. I guess it could still be that she experienced this
Yeah,
similar thing with having lost someone to an illness, uh, but yeah, regardless, this is still a new situation in what her feelings are toward
Mm-hmm.
Karluk. And I love how not only does she start to recognize those feelings now, nearly a year later, um, but also I think it becomes very clear to us as readers that she does feel so strongly for him when she decides to stay in the village to be with Karluk during the assault,
Mm-hmm.
even though it is so dangerous. But she wants to stay because of her love for Karluk. She doesn't want to leave his side,
Mm. Yeah.
and even attacking her own dad to save
Yeah.
her man, like so ferociously.
I love how she just jumped out of the second story or whatever, just
Yeah,
to defend him.
that was so amazing. I love that moment, like how like fast she was and how efficient she was, and you could really feel the strong emotion welling up inside of her during that moment because like she is upset with her father for multiple reasons probably, but most of all because she you know her dad just injured her little
Mm-hmm.
man, and that's not okay.
Absolutely. Before we got into the battle, there was this whole fight between her and Karluk, and it wasn't like a
Mm.
huge fight, but it was more so a disagreement in
Mm.
how they treat one each other, and or how Karluk feels Amir is treating him. And I think when you look at it as the feelings of or new feelings for her, maybe love, it almost feels like she doesn't see him as an adult. It's more of a motherly love, maybe. Of course, I'm not saying that's totally the case, but I can see that kind of playing a part in her current feelings towards Karluk because let's face it, he's not not as strong as she is,
Mm.
not as capable of protecting himself as he would like to be at this point.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like she does kind of uh, have a you know have a leg to stand on when it comes to wanting to protect him and keep him safe. Of course, Karluk's point of view is nothing that you can just shove away. He's valid too.
Of course.
But I understand where she's coming from.
Yeah.
And to be fair, he is still a child. I know he's trying to be a man, and everyone else will call him a man, but he's a child.
Yeah,
At least
like
from my 21st century mind, he's a child.
I do agree. Like he is barely 13.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a kid.
So, but I appreciate Amir putting respecting her husband's feelings and trying her best to cope with that and not put the embroidery on,
Mm.
etc., etc.
Yeah.
Although I don't think it would have been that big of a deal to be honest. But again, I'm not from that culture, so I don't know.
Well, yeah. I mean, yeah. It's faith, but yeah. I also thought Amir seemed to be a pretty capable tactician when she had just gotten all that information about the attack from Joruk, and she kept a very level head. Like the city was under attack, and she knew that things were going to get really serious and probably bloody.
Mm-hmm.
But she managed to keep it cool, kind of during that when she was speaking to Karluk, and she was able to come up with various little plans, and she pointed out how they should keep in mind the enemy's intentions as they planned their defense and like things like that. I don't know. It was a side of her that I hadn't. That I don't think we had really seen before, and it
Hmm.
was very professionally handled. I guess
Yeah.
makes you wonder how many battles she's been in.
Oh, I wonder. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, knowing the time, I
Mm,
can't imagine too many, just because it's such a male-dominated society that
right,
I don't know how much she would have been on the battlefield.
precisely. Maybe she had just learned from hearing about it from family,
Mm,
things like that.
maybe.
Because she definitely handled the situation very well.
Yeah, I mean, she was kind of just relaying the information she had just received, but at the same time, you're right. Like she was able to pinpoint exactly what they needed to do.
Mm-hmm. And of course, by the end, despite her maybe mostly negative feelings toward her dad, she did cry for him
Mm-hmm.
when he
Mm-hmm.
died, or after he had died.
Yeah, very curious about their relationship.
Yeah,
I
right.
wonder if it was always kind of abusive, or if at some point it turned abusive. Like it was pretty good
Right. Mm-hmm.
father daughter bond, but then it soured after a certain point. I don't know.
Yeah, I wonder.
Or maybe he's just always been a terrible person.
Yeah.
Because he,
Hmm.
I tried to find some redeeming factors. And I, I'm jumping the gun. We're not on him yet.
Yeah, no, but like regardless of their relationship, like even if he has always been this mean to her or like disrespectful toward her or whatever, I can still see her crying. Like it is still he has still been a father figure of some kind to her.
Yeah,
And so knowing that he has died, like yeah, yeah.
yeah,
It's fair to cry for sure.
yeah. I think family is family, and while different people will react to that situation in their own ways, if they had the same kind of abusive father, I think for Amir, it makes sense that she would mourn his death.
Yeah. Well, anything else on Amir?
No,
Then let's talk about Karluk. He's been growing taller lately, and
that's good.
he's starting to take his mature image more seriously now than he has before, I think. Or at least it's gradually growing more and more that he's trying to come off more mature.
Yeah,
Um, and that does result in a lot more people around him perceiving him as more manly, I
true,
think.
true. Yeah, the scene where he picks up a mirror, it's like, see, I'm strong. I don't know. I thought that was kind of childish, to be honest.
It's so childish, and I love that because he is a child.
Yeah,
But it's yeah, I do love that. Um, and how he says like he's just as strong as Amir, but like they do the arm wrestling like not long after that, and it's proven then that he is not as strong as her. Uh,
nope.
so he has a bit to go yet.
Yeah, he's not even 13. Come
Right.
on. It's the whole embroidery thing. So I'm gonna kind of take his side of this now. I was more on the Amir side for during the Amir session. Now,
Ah.
Karluk's side. The whole embroidery thing, I totally understand because it, as we established, it seemed to be more of a a motherly thing to do for her children. It's safety or things like that. I'm not sure to what extent it it would be done to older folk or something. I have no idea, but at least at
Hmm.
some point that should be not on men's clothing, or it's deemed as unmanly. And so I get from Karluk's point of view where he's supposed to be seen as the man of this family, particularly this household, the future man of the household.
Hmm.
He wants to be seen as such. Um, it's kind of like wanting to at that age. I don't know if you guys had this in Swedish culture, but uh, it kind of be like sitting at the grown up table.
Oh yeah, right.
When you have cousins, and everything over, you sit at the baby table or the kids table. But when you're 12, 13, you're like, no, I don't. This baby stuff, not for me. I don't want to do that. I want to sit with the grown ups. And so I think this is kind of a situation like that where he's ready to be a man
Oh
and
yes.
needs to change his clothing as such.
Yeah. And especially in this culture where that growing up is supposed to happen much
Right.
earlier than what we're used to. So yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, he definitely is
Yeah.
ready to be a man.
Yeah. It is. It was pretty funny, the whole family discussion. It did seem like everyone was, not everyone, but more of the family was taking Karluk's side than they were Amir's side, uh, about the whole situation. I think Karluk's sister may have been on Amir's side,
Yeah.
but other than that, everyone else was was like, "Yeah, don't do the embroidery. What? What are you thinking?" But I mean, just more evidence pointing towards the society of men that age being treated as adults.
For sure.
Um, but anyway, he did his best in the battle. It kind of sucks to have to go against your father-in-law there, but
Yeah.
you know, thank goodness his wife came in at the. But yeah, he's trying his best.
Yeah. Yeah. Even though it was brutal and it was brief, at least I don't know. Part of me just thinks it's kind of fun that at least Karluk did have time to have a little bit of a run-in with Amir's dad before he
Yeah,
bit the dust.
yeah,
He can say that he met him.
that's true.
Uh,
He was a passionate man.
yeah, that's how
That's
he'll
what he'll tell his children.
precisely.
What was Grandpa like? Uh, he was very good with a sword.
Yeah, and he'll show the scar on his shoulder. Grandpa did this.
Always remember him by. But he did pass out from blood loss because of that.
Yeah, poor boy.
But yeah, which it's this whole chapter that happens at the beginning, with Amir worrying about him, and then on the battle he passes out. So it's like not really helping her anxiety, folks.
No, but he will be fine.
Yeah, he'll be fine.
His young body will heal quickly.
Indeed. Thanks, Grandma.
I love how they're like constantly like little reminders about him being so young. Like the fact that yeah, he has a young body, so he will heal quickly, and how when Amir was cutting his hair, she had experience with cutting sheep, and he was like, oh my god, I'm the sheep again. Like it's funny. But anything else on Karluk?
No.
Then let us talk about Berkrat, or however the dad's name is supposed to be pronounced.
Yes.
The leader of the Halgal clan and the dad of Amir and Azel.
Yeah, pretty intense guy.
Very. Yeah, I love his design. Like the face, the facial hair, the outfit. Like he looks so evil.
Yeah. I mean, the like eye patch or whatever you call that.
Right.
Yeah. Man.
And like the jewelries and everything on his outfit and like
Yeah.
everything, how it's decked out. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
It's funny how he said that Amir will not disobey him, and like the first thing that she does when she sees him is to attack him.
Yeah, which he definitely overestimated his relationship with his daughter.
Oh yes. But he did die, as we said, by the end of the book.
Yeah.
At the hand of Balkirsh, the grandma.
Yeah.
Just showing up on her goat and sniping that jackass.
Yeah.
I have mixed feelings about that, I think.
Oh, really?
On one hand, I'm sort of relieved because with him out of the picture, it should, be better, at least on that front for Amir and the others. But I also saw a lot of potential in that character sticking around as a nuisance or as a threat. So I don't know. I guess that's why I am a little bit torn. But ultimately, I think it's good. He had a good run in this book alone.
Yeah, I mean, we didn't get a lot of backstory for him, right? So there is some arguably untapped potential there. I get it. I get it. But also, I don't think the Hallgal continually attacking the Ahon and the village. I just don't think that's the point of the story.
Fair.
So
True, true.
it makes sense to just bite it in the bud or nip it in the bud, whatever it's called, the phrase,
Mm.
and have it kind of be this tragic death. And if we're gonna get any, I guess, backstory for him, we get it through the memory of Azel and Amir.
True.
But I did think it was kind of out of left field, but also bad that Grandma was the one to take him down.
Yeah.
Um, just never doubt that woman.
Oh no.
But yeah, at the end of the day, I'm okay with it. You know,
Yeah.
he needed to die eventually. He just was so prideful and bloodthirsty that it had to happen.
Definitely.
Unfortunately.
Yeah. And actually, yeah, I guess the consequences that will come from here on out, from him being dead, are probably will
Right.
probably lead to some interesting things. I don't know exactly for Amir. I mean, she's mourning right now, but there could be something there. But especially for Azel, because this obviously means, as we were talking about, the potential for him to be the new chief. So that is
Right.
very exciting.
I have predictions somewhat related to that, so I'll
Great. Let's
share it then.
save it. Uh, anything else on the father?
No, I mean I've already gave my rant at the beginning about how wrong I was, but I gave to him. Yeah, just he was so caught up in this pride and getting revenge for such a helpless thing,
Hmm.
um, that he was blind to the conniving schemes of the Badon clan.
Yeah.
That's it.
Then, next, let's talk briefly about Paria Togonosh.
Okay.
In a flustered panic, she gave Amir some surprisingly helpful advice. I think. I think it did.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Was at least partially
Yeah.
important for her to hear there.
Maybe it was too much love for her to handle, but
Yes.
she did her best as a friend.
She absolutely did. And yeah, yes, it was very sweet. But that was the only that thing that we really got from her in this volume.
I know. The teasing.
Another very brief appearance from her in this
Yeah.
one. But any other character that you want to talk about?
Yeah. Just one more. The Altamas, the leader of the
Mm.
Badan. I'll just say in general. I knew the Badan were goons the moment I saw them. They of course they were going to double cross them in some way, and I think Azel knew it as well.
Oh yeah.
Not just from this volume, but from previous volumes where he was about to slice them down or whatever.
Yeah.
And they indeed were colluding with Russia, but more so taking weapons from them, or trading weapons for whatever reason, cannons and weapons and whatnot. So that is certainly an aspect that I don't think will go away in the future. But
Right. Exactly.
go more into that later.
Yeah, the Russian presence will grow, I think, slowly but steadily in the story.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh boy.
And that's it. I mean, he died, like shot through the neck.
Yes.
That was pretty brutal. But he kind of had a pierce my face kind of face. Pierce me with an arrow kind of face.
He did. Yeah. He had exactly that type of face.
Yeah, he did. You see it from time to time.
You do, yeah. Very well. Then let us dive into some predictions.
Okay.
And I guess we'll talk first a little bit more, if there's any, about the idea of Azel becoming the next chief of the Hallgal.
Yeah.
I think it ultimately depends on the state of the clan as a whole. and the
Mm-hmm.
people of it, what they think.
Mm-hmm.
But I think for me, like ultimately, I do think he would become their new chief. It wouldn't be super easy, and it wouldn't happen like immediately. But I do think he
Mm-hmm.
he will become their chief. Uh, Like that's the end goal, kind of.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Um, I'm curious what his family situation is like as well. With him being
Oh yeah,
probably older than Amir,
that's
I
funny.
wonder,
Yeah.
does he have a wife already? I would
Hmm.
think they would already provide that, an arranged marriage already.
It makes sense.
Um,
It's funny. I hadn't thought of it for some reason. I hadn't thought about any of that for him, but
yeah,
yeah, he ought to have a bride or a wife. Yeah.
I would think. I, I'm not 100% sure, but regardless, it could be interesting to see that family dynamic within the Hoggle clan and see where that how that grows or where that goes.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah.
I think that yes, there could be some pushback from the elders, and that's could be a good plot point, a bit of controversy or whatnot. But eventually, he will get to that chief position, and then
Yeah.
from there, there's potential for conflict with surrounding entities. Um, you have the Numaji clan, which uh, at this point they don't want anything to do with Hoggle. I'd assume, but maybe they get really barbaric and decide to attack the Hoggle clan. But I think what I'm most worried about are the Russians coming down and you know kind of pushing their territory with Badan being more or less gone. I think Russians will take that area. And then at that point, I think they're pretty close to where the Hoggle clan would be located, or at
Mm.
least the lands. I guess they're nomads, so they roam the area. But there could be a point where they have a run in with the Russians, and maybe the Russians will try to do the same thing they did with Badan and be like, hey, do you want some cannons? Do you want some this?
Yeah.
I believe wholeheartedly that Azel will refuse because he's just always
Oh
been
yes.
against it.
Uh-huh.
And then at that point, I feel like the Russians will uh, try to pick a fight.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what I'm thinking could lead because if I guess eventually the Russians have to come in and start kind of taking over, right?
I
That's
absolutely I think so.
that's kind of the end game
As
or the start of it or whatever.
yeah, as rough as that could get. But yeah, I think that's a good prediction. I think the whole Numaji thing would come before the Russians.
Mm.
Uh,
If at all. I feel very strongly the Russian thing is going to happen.
oh, for sure.
I'm just
Yeah.
unsure about the Numaji stuff. Like it's a
Mm,
possibility, and I agree with you that it probably would be the Numaji first, if at all.
mm,
Um, but I feel you made a good point earlier with some controversy with him becoming the clan, and that could take a volume or so,
yeah.
um, and then I think the next arc for him would be dealing with the Russians, but maybe Nubanji do have a bone to pick for one reason or another. Maybe they try to take his wife, even though
Oh.
she wouldn't be Hagal, but she yeah she because she would be from another clan, I would assume.
Right.
But but anyway,
True. True.
um, yeah, those are just some thoughts I had about Azel. I'm really looking forward to his plot. I mean, I think all the characters and their future stories I'm looking forward to, but I am really looking forward to Azel's.
Yeah. Absolutely. Especially after this book.
Yeah.
And like because the Nomaji like they keep popping up by name, and in this volume they were
You're right.
even it was even established, unless it had been before and I just hadn't noticed it, but it was clearly established anyway in this book that the Numaji are the most powerful landowners in the region.
Mm, yeah.
So like they are a
Yeah.
big thing.
You know what? I think if the Russians are going to come in, I feel like the Magi and the Russians could have a contact in some way, whether it be a alliance, which would be very bad for the Hoggle, or war, which could mean that the Hoggle would join with the Numaji, maybe. But the Numaji don't seem like very kind people. At least the ones that they sent their women to. So I
Yeah,
don't know. Like, yeah, it'll be interesting to see where alliances lie.
for sure. I wonder, and like maybe this isn't especially relevant, or maybe it is. I don't know.
Ah.
But the reinforcements that showed up when the battle had just ended, they were sent by. They said like something about the regional lord or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Could that regional lord be of the Numaji? If the
Hmm.
Numaji are the most powerful landowners in the region, then maybe the regional lord would be of the Numaji. Does that
I didn't think about
could
that.
could could be a connection there, but it's unclear.
Yeah, it could be, but
Mhm.
that's a good point. A regional lord, we would think, would be the most powerful in the region,
Right. So
unless Numaji are just in a different region. But I don't know.
yeah, I don't know. Really, well,
I
yeah.
feel like they
Well,
would make the distinction. Who knows?
we'll see.
Yeah, that whole regional lord business was interesting, wasn't it? Like,
Yeah.
I didn't even think about, oh, this isn't really their land. It's it's on loan from by this regional lord.
Somehow,
That's
yeah, yeah.
yeah.
But yeah, speaking of the land or the state of the town here now, after this assault,
Mm-hmm.
the town is in ruins. And I guess they'll have to rebuild like a lot of the town or of the village.
Yeah.
So I reckon that could be something that we'll deal with to some extent, as well as the tragedy of a lot of people having died, and like you know villagers and yeah, all sorts of people living there. Uh,
Right. Right.
there's, I mean, probably not, but who knows? Maybe characters that we know have died. Mostly, it's probably been unknown characters to us. But what if it turns out that someone that we know died? Like, well, obviously we've seen some people after
The
the
wood
battle ended,
carver.
but
No.
right, for example, not that we have seen him in a while or really know him all that well, but for example, it could be something we've seen a lot of people after the battle, but not everyone. We haven't seen Paria. I'm not saying she's dead, but like Paria's dad, maybe he bit the dust in the battle. I don't.
Oh man, that would be interesting.
Yeah.
That would throw that would throw a wrench in a lot of things, but
Mhm. Yeah, it would
yeah.
be. It would. But yeah, I'm just saying there were casualties, so maybe we'll have to deal with that.
Nah, who am I kidding? No, no, no. You're right. It could happen.
Yeah, we'll see. But in the afterward, this time, Mori said that she thinks that we'll catch up with Smith and Ali next time. So that's not even for sure. She said that she thinks that we will. And she drew Paria in the afterward, but she made no claim regarding her appearance in the next volume at all.
No, it's just she just felt like I feel like she needs more screen time.
Yeah.
It's like that's it.
So yeah, the afterward has not given us anything really substantial for the next volume.
I think it's pretty confident to say that Henry and Ali will show up,
Yeah,
and
it's fairly.
I think this is partly, I'll be honest, based on the volume cover I've seen for the next volume. I think it would deal with a new bride in this new region that they're in.
That's fair.
Um,
Yeah, based on the next volume cover art.
yeah, and to be fair, like that kind of checks the boxes of what's happened earlier in
True.
their journey. So I think that could be another thing. Maybe Ali finds someone that he fall, falls in love
Oh
with or
yeah.
something. And we talked about that.
Precisely.
Um, but you never know. And then I think with Padia, I'm not gonna, get my hopes up, but I think maybe towards the end of the volume, after we get, you know, Smith and Ali's little adventure, we'll get some potty action as she's helping the village rebuild.
Oh yeah.
Along with Amir.
And a funeral for Paria's father. No.
That's a great way to bring her back in. It's like, sorry, can't go on our date. On our second date, my dad died. It's tough.
Man.
Okay, well, just tell me you don't want to go on a date. That's fine.
Oh my god.
I see how it is. But yeah, I'm not expecting there to be a lot of putty in the next volume. I am, but I will say I will predict more than in this volume.
Yeah, I hope so too.
This volume was thicker than the previous one.
Oh, was it?
I think what it is actually is I think volume 5 was smaller, thinner than the others.
Maybe it was. I've packed all of my volumes down into boxes now, except for this one, so I can't compare. But I guess, was that all on predictions?
Yeah, that's it.
Lovely. At this point, I can easily say that A Bride's Story is among my top 10 manga that I've ever read.
Nice.
Yeah, I feel confidently about that now. Like, I think I was sort of on the fence about that possibility after volume 5, but after volume 6, easily in my top 10 somewhere.
Yeah, it was a really good volume. Really good volume.
Yeah.
It's definitely an 8 out of 10 for me with this volume, for sure. I don't know if I could say top 10 of manga that I've read. To be honest, I can't name you all my top 10 manga right now. But it's definitely up there in my list. I mean, being 8 out of 10 is a really good score. So
oh yeah,
I like it.
Well, I like it a lot, and yeah, it is an 8 out of 10 for me as well.
I like it a lot.
We like it a lot, and I hope
Indeed
you readers, well, you are probably readers, but you listeners, is what I meant to say, are also liking this manga a lot. And please let us know how much you like it.
Yeah, if I assume if you're listening to the 6th volume, if you come this far, you're gonna like it. I don't think someone who hates it, unless you really just want to hear us talk about it, would have read this far. So
true.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, honestly,
glad you're here with us.
It's a thing to not only to read the manga up to the 6th volume, but also to listen to us discuss it up to the 6th discussion. You probably enjoy this series and want to take in other people's opinions on it and whatnot. Like, yeah, we're all fans of A Bride's Story here at this point, and it's a lovely,
indeed,
lovely little thing. I'm very glad we started this.
Yeah, I agree. I guess this is more silliness, but do you think there are podcasters out there that will purposely read manga like volume by volume and have podcast discussions of manga that they just abhor, hate, dislike? Do you think they're hate reading? and not just like a couple of chapters, or they have it, let's talk about how terrible this show is or this manga, but they go volume by volume and just talk about how terrible it is. Do you think that exists?
Not to that extent. I don't in that way exactly.
There's no way.
But hate reading, absolutely, I'm sure it happens, but probably not the equivalent of what we do, except they hate it. Like, I don't think that exists. Yes. In fact, something that I've thought about and like tried to search for to a degree are others that do what we do. And I'm not saying that we're so unique, but I haven't found anyone online doing a manga podcast the same way that we do, covering series as thoroughly as we do with each volume, like a single volume at a time.
Yeah,
I don't think that really happens much.
Not really. I mean, if anything, it's chapter by chapter for some manga.
True.
But then besides that, they just talk about the entire manga, or arcs or things like that.
Right.
That's a good point. Wow.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for being one of the listeners of our unique podcast.
Yes. Yes, we appreciate every last one of you. But with that all said, I guess we are ending this episode.
Okay.
Great. So, if you enjoy our content, you can follow us on Twitter at Umami Manga, and it would be lovely if you'd like to support us by rating our show on the podcast platforms and subscribing to our channel Umami Manga on YouTube. Thank you so much for listening, and we'll see you next time when we'll talk about Volume 7. Bye-bye!
See you later!
If you enjoy our content, you can follow us on Twitter at Umami Manga, and it would be lovely if you'd like to support us by rating. If you like this episode, if you like our, one more time.